welcome everyone to episode 37 of the Thundercrafts podcast, where we forge through the shitstorm that was WCW Thunder. I am your host, taking you to Bangtown, Josh Kiser. And joining me today, a man with physical shortcomings, an interesting choice of cuisine, and a touch of low class, Kyle Hoagland.
Hey, you know what? If I could ever be compared to Arn Anderson, I think it's a good day. And second of all, taking people to Bangtown, very debatable. What's going on, everybody?
How is it going? It is 37 episodes now of the Thundercrafts podcast, and 37 episodes into Thunder. Kyle, can you believe we have made it through 37 episodes?
Can you believe that at one point we were like, wow, what a great idea we had. And you know what? We're going 37 weeks strong. We haven't missed a week. And, this is actually a really good time to be talking about this, because I think this is now the true pivotal time where I think we really start seeing maybe the cracks in the armor as far as WCW, because clearly Halloween Havoc is not going to go down as one of the greatest spectacles of all time in the history of professional sports.
It's true. It's not. And it really is that time where, for a while still, WCW will, they'll win a good share of the ratings. They'll sell out arenas, get good buy rates on pay-per-views. But really, this is the point that some point to, Halloween Havoc 1998 is like, this is when things started to turn. And the WWF started to take control, and probably by October of '99, we'll be hating ourselves even more than we might here.
Did you notice that they release a lot more episodes?
Oh, did they? I did not see that.
Yes, they have nearly the entire 2000 library now.
Oh my God, I'm actually going to open. They must have just done that, because I watched this episode a little bit earlier than I have previously. I had some free time, so I did it. Shit, you're right. They sure did. We're into the 2000s now. Oh, that excites me. You know what? They must be the WWE network must be listening. They must know we're getting a lot of views on Thunder thanks to this podcast and all of you out there. So they said, let's release some more. So we have up to Thunder 97. So if nothing else, we've got 60 more episodes to record after this.
We have almost 2 years worth of material to go through. And hey, man, I couldn't pick a better partner in this journey.
That's right. Now, that said, let's get into it. It is October 22nd, 1998. And as we alluded to, we are 3 days away from Halloween Havoc, Kyle. And what a card we're building towards. And if we didn't have the ability of hindsight, I'd say, God damn, I'm excited for this one.
Hey, I know who else was excited? This crowd in Albuquerque. They were pretty stoked for the show.
They really were. To your point, we are live from Albuquerque. Not what I would call a wrestling town, but damn, they were hot tonight. And you know what? They're feeling it. Halloween Havoc. It's the go home show for a great card. So I gotta feel like, man, it could be a good one. Of course, Tony Lee and Bobby all here tonight. And they're going to open up discussing Hogan and Warrior. Why not? That is the match everybody's talking about as we're pushing towards the Havoc. And they're gonna talk about what Hogan did to his nephew Horace Hogan on Nitro. Apparently a despicable act from Hogan to Horace. And then they said, what's he going to do to the Warrior if he'll do that to his own nephew? And they also mentioned that he spray painted Warrior's body. So, as we push towards Halloween Havoc, it's really heating up between these two.
And I actually really like this because it feels like, and once again, we're only watching Thunder. It really, and maybe you think differently, it just feels like every week the Warrior has been getting the upper hand constantly over Hogan. It seems like every week Hogan is like chicken shit,
scared, kind of running away. Yep, absolutely.
And so it's nice to know that on the go home show on Nitro, it looks like Hogan's got one up on Warrior, because this entire storyline has been about how much of a coward Hogan is, and just how much of just a threatening presence, an awe-inspiring phenom that is the Warrior, for better or for worse. But yeah, it was nice to know that there was like a small inkling of mortality in the Warrior, and Hogan was able to exploit it. So I think that really helps the story going forward.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then we're going to open up with our first replay of the night. We're going to get a lot of actual video clips here. And we got DDP in a match against Jericho. I'm going to assume that the television title was on the line, but I don't know for certain. DDP's getting ready to give the old diamond cutter to Jericho. And Goldberg's going to come in and interfere and spear Jericho and then go to jackhammer Jericho for some reason. This is going to lead to DDP giving Jericho the diamond cutter. Page and Goldberg are going to go at it, so it's heating up that DDP versus Goldberg match at Halloween Havoc. And for some reason, the babyface champion Goldberg is going to interfere in that match and give Jericho the DQ win. I thought it was a little interesting. I get that you're trying to push a little bit of DDP and Goldberg here and try to make it interesting that there's some bad blood between those two, but I feel like having him interfere in the match was a little weird.
I don't think it was weird. You got to remember, what has Jericho been doing the past 3 to 4 weeks? Antagonizing Goldberg. So now the 1 week where, Goldberg wants to kind of like send a message. Well, what a perfect time. Jericho's fighting his opponent at Halloween Havoc. I do find the timing being funny that DDP has it in the bag, ready to win a match, and then this is when Goldberg comes in. Once again, this is classic, wrestling TV show, antics.
For sure. And then we're going to move to our opening bout of the night. Super Clo coming out to wrestle Rey Mysterio Jr. So it's good to see Rey out there, who, by the way, still wrestling today. Just signed a United States title match for WrestleMania. So it's amazing to see Rey 21 years later still wrestling out there.
Well, you got to remember, 21 years ago, that dude was like, what, 20?
Yeah.
He's
right.
he's older. I mean, I'm sure he's in his mid to low 40s now. But take into account.
Well, sure, but he's had knee issues for 20 years. So I mean, that's more. It's not so much the age, because you're right. He's very young here, but it's more the wear and tear that's been on his body.
Oh yeah, I agree, and obviously the moveset that Rey does now. Plus, when Rey is feeling, I don't want to say committed or motivated, but I mean, I just remember seeing him at Royal Rumble, I think it was this year, and just how amazingly in shape he looked. Or it was last year, wasn't it? Was it last year that we saw him at
last year was when he made that. Last year. Yeah, so.
It was last year. Yeah, so he's been with the company now for a little over a year now, so as far as being back. And he looked amazing. I mean, he looked like as if he went back in time, and he was in great shape. And yeah, his knees are kind of powdery, I'm sure at this point, but I mean, the dude still puts on a great match at whatever 44, 45, whatever he is now.
Yeah, he does. And as for this match itself, it was I thought it was a solid opening match. Rey is going to win with the top rope hurricanrana, but Super Clo looked decent as well. I gave it 2 stars. I thought the two of them actually could have had a better match than they did, but I thought it was an okay match.
See, I disagree in a good way. I gave this 2 3/4 stars. I love Super Clo in this match. He definitely had the best spots in this match. A lot of the death-defying luchador type of shots were actually done by Super Clo, and we kind of have been making fun of Super Clo, and I think the other guy was Cyclope, who would just botch. It's kind of one of those things where you got 2 big spots, don't mess them up, and those are the ones that they would classically screw up. I think that Heenan was hilarious during this. I think the commentary was somewhat interested. Obviously, they were talking a little bit about Hogan and Warrior during this. Heenan's still floored that Super Clo never loses his hat in his matches. That senton from the inside of the ring to the outside floor.
That looked brutal, didn't it?
It looked brutal, but in a good way. I liked it. It looked
it was a good spot, but man, it just looked like he smashed Rey bad.
And I mean, once again, gravity, you can only soften gravity so much. And Super Clo, he's a cruiserweight, but I feel like he's kind of a cruiserweight in name. He's a pretty stocky guy. But no, I had to give credit where credit was due. I think this really got the crowd going, even though the crowd didn't need to get going. I think it just checked off a lot of boxes. It was an exciting match. I think it was paced correctly. I didn't want to watch much more of it. I think they all put in, their haymakers, especially Super Clo. There were no botched spots. And Rey obviously is going to win, and Rey looked good winning, but even Super Clo looked great in this match.
I won't disagree with any of that. I think 2 3/4 might be a little high, but that's fine. And After this, we're going to get our first sign of the night, and it says WWF, and it says We Wrestle Fake. So over there in that WWF, they don't wrestle like the big boys here in WCW do.
Agreed, I guess.
And then after this match, out comes the LWO. Now the commentary team is going to debate the Mexican flag versus the Italian flag, which is always fun. And then we see that El Dandy, La Parca, Psychosa, Hector Garza, Damian, and Eddie are now all LWO members. So I think we've gotten, La Parca and Psychosis have joined since last week's Thunder. So they're growing, and now Eddie's in there basically asking Ray to unite the Raza to join the LWO. And this brings Chavo out. Chavo's out in the entrance area with Pepe, kind of making faces and maybe trying to get Eddie's attention to be asked to join the LWO. That said, Ray is going to say he's going to run this one on his own and disappoints Eddie. And, the LWO not happy that Ray's turning him down at this point.
Which once again makes perfect sense because the LWO is definitely a heel stable.
Oh yeah.
So Ray's not going to want to have a whole lot to do with those guys. Nope,
definitely not. After this, Tony Schiavone's going to be in the ring, which can only mean one thing, and that's promo time with Diamond Dallas Page. He's going to get in there and say that last Monday night was pure Raw intensity, not Monday Night Raw, but Raw intensity. And then he's going to say that when he thinks of the world champion, only one word comes to mind: Goldberg.
I think that's about 80% of what people would probably think, so go on.
And then he starts getting really weird where he talks about living on the edge of a lightning bolt and riding it long and hard. And then right when it's about to strike, you jump off of it and ride another bolt long and hard, and then keep doing it again and again. And then says, "Who's next? It's me. Or is it you? And you're going to go to Bangtown." This is just a very interesting promo all around. I give him credit. It was unique, but it was interesting. I don't know any better way to describe it other than unique.
Well, I was scared at first that this promo was going to be the same fucking song and dance that DDP's been doing. And the very beginning...
I'm glad it wasn't. Yeah, no, it started out that way, but I'm glad it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, it checked off all the boxes minus Hollywood scum Hogan, and then as soon as he started talking about the American dream, I'm like, all right, you got me interested. What's going on here? And then he just started talking about riding something like it's a dick, and I'm like, all right. Well, then again, that's DDP for you, man. Maybe in '98, but there's sexual innuendo in every single one, and I'm sure he doesn't mean it. It probably just went way past him. He was all jacked, dude. Everything he says is something that if we were even more immature than we were at 98, we probably would have been snickering throughout every one of his promos. Also, if you notice too, the crowd is booing Goldberg, and I think we've been kind of noticing this trend that I think everyone's kind of rooting for DDP. I don't think DDP notices that, or at the very least, he thinks the booing is for him because the crowd starts to boo when DDP mentions Goldberg. And then he says, whatever, to the crowd. And I think he thinks that the crowd's booing him. And he does a classic Benoit response, which is like, whatever, talk to the hand or whatever the fuck he wants to say. And I just thought that was really interesting that I think that DDP thought the crowd wasn't on his side. But it's clear, though, that DDP is, as of right now, and by right now I mean October 22nd, 1998, DDP is more over than Goldberg right now, and which is interesting because Goldberg really has only been the champion for about 3-4 months, 3 or 4 pay-per-views in this sense, and it feels like the crowd's already kind of getting sick of Goldberg.
I don't blame him.
Or at least in the sense that they're doing a babyface versus babyface, which then kind of
somebody needs to get booed in it, right? So
or someone needs to go to Bangtown.
That's true. I'll tell you who wasn't going to Bangtown. That's Johnny Swinger, as he's going to be up in the next match wrestling Alex Wright. And the Albuquerque crowd, not a fan of Alex Wright, as the Alex Wright sucks chants are loud and in full effect. As for this match, not much to talk about because commentary spent most of it talking about the Steiners match at Halloween Havoc. It's going to ultimately be Johnny Swinger getting drop-kicked, coming off the top rope, which leads to the Rude Awakening, or whatever Alex Wright's calling that reverse neck breaker. I gave it a star and 3/4. It was a squash match, and one we didn't need to even see.
And you know what? I am actually going to rate this down. I gave this originally 2.25 because I actually was okay with the match. And I think that Swinger didn't look bad. I think he actually looks good. I think his look is, if you saw him from
a
distance,
want his, like, phone number or something, bro? What?
I'll have to talk to Raven. I know he used to co-host the Raven Effect. But the crowd had some fun with this match, and I think that's another reason why I kind of rated this. The crowd, I think this crowd is the reason why, and you will see. And I think you'll also agree, too, that because I gave the first match a decently higher rating, that you're going to see that my curve kind of trickles down to the rest of these matches in a sense. But yeah, I think the reason why I'm going to put this down to a 2-star is that, this particular match did nobody any favors. There was no real storyline going on between the two of them. And I'm not saying you need that per se, but I think you do if you want this to be anything higher than a 2.5 star match, unless it's two great workers going at it. And I don't really consider these guys great workers with wonderful chemistry. And the match was okay. So actually, I'm gonna knock this down to a 2.
Well, there you go. I've already talked you down on at least a 1/4 star. So it's small victories here tonight. After this, we get our second replay of the night. It's from Nitro, showing Rick Steiner. Him and Scott are in the ring. While Rick's basically talking shit to Scott. Scott's going to run away. Then Scott's going to get into the ring and fight him. And then Rick's going to hit him with the microphone. And they kind of brawl out. So just kind of reminding you, Rick and Scott are wrestling at Havoc.
But you know what? I think maybe that's another reason why I might have rated this decently. You remember how you said how all the commentators were talking about was Rick and Scott Steiner's rivalry? Well, guess what? After this match, they went into a video package to kind of put out something on top of that, and I appreciate that. I think it's the one thing that this show has been lacking, that we've been kind of complaining about, is that we feel so disconnected with a lot of these storylines. And the one thing about the show that's been doing a better job overall, is that if you are going to not talk about the match and you're going to talk about a storyline, then make sure that what we saw before the match or what we might see after the match kind of flows into it. And I think that this is a very good example of a show that did a really good job of doing that.
Fair enough. I won't disagree with your sentiment there. After this, we get our Saturday night promo. We know that Saturn, Fit Finley, Disco Inferno will all be wrestling, as well as Jericho defending his television title against Psychosis.
Which is hilarious considering the next match.
Right. Next, we get our third sign of the night. It says, "Who?" Because you fuckers still don't know that Woo does not have a damn H in it.
There's a part of me that doesn't want Ric Flair to come back just so we don't have to worry about these damn signs. It's either that or someone has already invented at some point in our career, our podcasting career, this podcast has taken off. All right. We are millions and millions of downloads every week, and somebody at some point has a time machine and decided to fuck with us and is adding these woohoos fucking signs in Albuquerque and all these other ones. So at this point, Thunder Buddies, if we're seeing a sign like this, we know it's because it's you assholes.
That's right. Then we get after that sign, we're going to get our third replay of the night. It's Sting and Hart on Nitro. They're wrestling because, of course, why not? They'll be wrestling again at this Sunday at Halloween Havoc. But hell, let's have a match on Nitro. Sting's going to put on the Scorpion Deathlock. Hart's going to grab the ropes, but Sting will not let go. He's going to get disqualified. Out come about 20 refs who are not going to be able to pry Sting away. And Sting basically says, "There's just no way in hell I'm releasing this submission on Hart." So furthering that he apparently playing the heel in this upcoming match. But
is it me, or is this stupid booking to have them actually have I understand that it was a thrown out match, but they had a match.
They had a match. It wasn't like they weren't battling or one interfered with the other and they started fighting or something like that. They had a match. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yep, I didn't like it.
After this, Chris Jericho will be defending his television championship. So I guess he'll be winning against his opponent Canyon, who's accompanied to the ring by Raven. So we already know Jericho's going to be the champ still because he's defending it again on Saturday night. But you know what? Jericho Canyon, this is a match I could get behind this. So Canyon's going to get on the microphone before the match, do his Who's Better Than Canyon. He's going to get a little bit bunny ears action for his troubles from Jericho. Then Jericho's going to get on and say basically why no one thinks Canyon's the best is because they're all Jerichoholics that worship him. And then he says, "Who's better than Jericho?" And this is when commentary team is going to say, "We had ourselves a jerk contest," which is interesting.
It didn't escape me, so don't worry.
And what else also didn't escape you was the fact that Lee called him the paragon of pomposity.
I never got a chance to do this. We'll you go ahead and go through the match. I need to know if that's a fucking word. All right, Lee Marshall. I understand. God rest your soul. But if this is not a word, I don't know who to get a hold of in order to bitch. But I don't know if you've got like a son or something I can write a letter to. But as soon as I heard pomposity, I'm like, that's not a fucking word.
No. I'm very curious to find out what you find out there. As for this match, I thought it was probably my favorite match of the night, which not totally surprising. I will say Jericho does his lion salt, and I thought it was the smoothest lion salt I have ever seen him execute. I thought it was fantastic. We do see a middle rope suplex from Kanyon to bring Jericho from the apron back into the ring, which was kind of interesting to see. Then at one point during the match, Jericho jumps off the top, and he kind of goes over Kanyon, who's sitting there, and Kanyon like slams him down and turns it into a bridge pin. It was weird because it was like Jericho actually executed the move, but it turned into a pin. It was strange. I don't even know how to describe it without just...
The only way I can explain it is that Jericho went for either like an axe handle or maybe like a standing clothesline, and Kanyon kind of caught him in midair and then flipped him into a pinning combination, which I really like too. I like that bridge. It was cool looking. It was, and once again, very, very original, very different.
Oh yeah. Kanyon then is going to actually break up the lion tamer. He's going to hit the old electric chair, which is kind of his setup to the flatliner. But then Jericho is going to come off the top rope at one point to do a drop kick to drop kick Kanyon, but Canyon's going to grab Billy Silverman, but the commentary team all called him Billy Kidman. And with the ref knocked out, so to speak, Raven's going to come in to even flow Jericho, but it's reversed into a lion tamer. The ref's going to wake up at that point, see Raven in the lion tamer. That's a disqualification. Jericho's going to win. Again, I gave it 2.25 stars. I thought it was a good match, but I hated the ending.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the only thing about the ending I didn't like was that I don't really know what the actual... As ridiculous as a lot of these matches that we've seen, I could have been just as convinced that Kidman called for the DQ either because Kanyon pulled him into a drop kick. That could have been DQable. Obviously, Raven being in the ring could be a DQ. However, we've seen plenty of matches where if someone's trying to interfere and it doesn't work out and they just get thrown out or get beat up, a lot of times, you get the Hogan treatment where, we'll let the match ride because Hogan's in control, back when he was a baby face. Or did Jericho win by making Raven tap? Seriously, it's WCW refs. Who the fuck knows? Either way, it was good offense, a lot of original stuff. I enjoyed both of those guys' antics. I love the pre-match stuff. There were no botches, which is something that, you kind of take the good with the bad with Kanyon. And the match was decently paced. There wasn't a lot of like arm bars and headlocks. I feel like both of them were trying to look good. And for that, I gave it 2 3/4.
Yeah. And I think had that ending been not that ending, I would have agreed with you on that.
Honestly, I think if it ended with Jericho winning cleanly, I would have probably given this almost a 3-star match. That's my...
Yeah. After the match, we get our 4th replay of the night. It's going to be Hogan on Nitro talking to Horace, asking Horace what his real name is, and this is when Horace is going to let us know that he's Horace Hogan. And this is where Hogan gets really weird. When I say Hogan, I'm going to refer to Hogan, not Horace. And he says that, Horace is, his dead father is my brother. And then he starts like, the blood of him is coursing through him, is the same blood that is coursing through me. And he just starts getting
it's a real weird way of saying he's my nephew.
Right. Really weird way of saying it. Then he says, he starts talking about the Warrior and says, I'm going to show the Warrior a sacrifice. And this is when he's going to beat the shit out of Horace. I got to be honest. They're trying to make it, he gives Horace a chair shot. Warrior's going to come in for the save. Giant's going to come in from behind and choke slam the Warrior. This is where they spray paint the Warrior's body with NWO. Hogan's going to drop a couple leg drops onto the Warrior. And it's going to end with the Warrior starting to fist pump as though like he's almost no-selling all that attack that just happened. But what bothered me most about all this is, Kyle, I agree with you. Hogan needed his, kind of to get, his kind of get back at Warrior.
His one-upment, yeah.
Right. He needed to even it out a little bit. He couldn't be totally a piece of shit, scared, running for his life every week. He just couldn't. He needed his day in the sun, so to speak. But for me, it doesn't come from beating the shit out of fucking Horace Boulder.
It's Horace Hogan, dude.
They're trying to make me care about fucking Horace, what has Horace done? You know what Horace did? He got jobbed to fucking the Disciple last week on Thunder. All right? He took a chartbuster, an Apocalypse from the Disciple. He was Raven's lackey in the flock for about a month. I don't even know. I'd have to go into his, his database to see how many matches he's won since he's debuted at, what was that, Slamboree or Spring Stampede or one of those. I just don't give a shit about Horace Boulder. And the fact that he's Hogan's nephew now and Hogan beats him up, the commentary team's trying to sell it to me like, oh my God, Hogan is the most despicable, vile human being. He just beat up his dead brother's nephew or son. Guess what? Horace Boulder doesn't mean shit to me. I'd rather him take a kid out of the audience and beat the fuck out of that kid. I'd say, you know what? That's a dick move.
You know what you do? You drag Brooke Hogan in there. That's what you do.
But Horace Boulder, don't give a shit about this. Do not at all. And I can't. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying the whole fucking Horace Boulder story. Just don't care. All right. If you don't have anything to add, then we'll move on to the next match.
I think you spoke for me, man. It didn't really give me anything to speak from, and I also don't understand the idea of that this was a sacrifice for the Warrior. I don't understand why there was a sacrifice needed in general. So it fell on deaf ears, and then it just made it worse because it was fucking Horace. If it was hell, you could have picked what would have been even cooler if he just beat the shit out of Bischoff or something, somebody that he truly loves and cares about, because for all we know, he doesn't give a shit about his nephew. All we know is that his dead dad made him. That's all we know. But if he were to take somebody that he actually has this would have been a perfect time to not take the Disciple away from Hogan. Let Disciple still be this lackey of Hogan, and then let Hogan. And I know that it's not that much better. Don't trust me. I'm not saying that taking out the Disciple would have been oh, you got me sold for Halloween Havoc. But I think it would have been better than what we have, what we were given.
Oh, absolutely. And just for kicks, shits, giggles, whatever you want to say, I have it open right now, and here's Horace. Horace debuted his debut match on Thunder. He won by DQ. So are we going to count a DQ win as his first win?
No, because he won by DQ because DDP went in there and banged everybody. Yeah,
so we're going to ignore that. His first match, Saturday night taping, he beat Hougie. So Hougie jobbing to Horace. So that's one. He and Reese are going to lose to Johnny Grunge and Rocco Rock. Then he's going to beat Hougie again. Then him and Reese are going to beat Van Hammer and Hooven to. So Hougie has jobbed 3 times to Horace. That's brutal. Then Horace and Sick Boy are going to lose to Johnny Grunge and Rocco Rock. Then he's going to lose to Canyon. Then him and Raven are going to beat Hammer and Saturn, which doesn't count because he's with Raven. Next week he wins again with Raven. Doesn't count. The Barbarian's going to beat him. He's going to beat Barry Horowitz. He's going to somehow defeat Raven. I'm going to assume there's interference in that match. Then there's DQ finish against Raven. Then Raven's going to beat him. Then Raven's going to beat him again. And then he's going to beat Nick Dinsmore. DQ finish. And that's it. So cleanly, I think he's got about 5 wins in there. And it's almost all Hougie and Barry Horowitz and Nick Dinsmore. That's who he's beaten. And now you're trying to tell me that this guy, Hogan, beats him up, and now I'm supposed to think that Hogan's a piece of shit?
I mean, first of all, we already knew that Hogan is playing the piece of shit, but we have no emotional investment with Horace. So if you're going to beat up a guy we don't give a shit about, guess what? We don't give a shit about it.
Right. I think I would care more if he beat up Vincent, if we're being honest.
Oh man, I would have booed him. I would have booed him forever if he beat up Vincent. Has done nothing but be the best employee of the NWO Hollywood.
Absolutely. I don't think there's a more loyal subject in that entire group.
He's bar none.
That said, we'll move on to our next match because I've spoken enough about Horace. I gave Horace his time in the light. So the next match of the night, Saturn, going to be wrestling Norman Smiley, who Smiley's going to get that no entrance treatment as he's already in the ring. The commentary team is going to continue to discuss Hogan and Warrior, and as Tony mentions, him and Bobby Heenan, of course, were at WrestleMania when they Hogan and Warrior wrestled, and he's going to mention about Hogan kept giving the Bigfoot. He calls it the Bigfoot like 6 times instead of the Big Boot. But he's going to say how Warrior moved and dodged that leg drop at WrestleMania, which, of course, maybe that's why Hogan dropped those legs on him on Nitro, is kind of a sign to Warrior that, he can do it. As for this match, though, something about the way Norman Smiley moved around the ring was really interesting to me. It was like he was almost like on rollerblades, the way the way he glided around. It was so interesting. He was kind of squatting like you're in baseball and you're getting ready for a ground ball. He was moving around. It was just so interesting to me. And speaking of baseball, we found out that the World Series champ Yankees swept the Padres in the World Series, and apparently we're going to find out that the Padre fans are going to be able to go to Halloween Havoc now because of that. The match itself here, though, Saturn's going to win with the Death Valley Driver. I gave it 2 stars, and I thought it was a fine match. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but, it was fine.
Yep, I gave it 2 and a quarter. It was a little sloppy in places at the start, but overall it was a good quality match. I think that they both showed some decent showmanship at the beginning of the match as well, where I think they were both kind of I think what we would call the El Dandy Tokyo Magnum dance, where they both do their move and then they kind of kick back up
and
they
both off to see what the crowd reacts and stuff.
Yeah. Except this time I think the crowd was giving them a little bit more respect than I think Tokyo and El Dandy were doing. But a lot of quick holds, reversals, decent takedowns. This looked almost like a shoot match. It looked like these guys were at the very beginning looked like they were trying to get one up on them. I think the only thing I didn't like was there was a shitty swinging net breaker, which I don't know whose fault that was, whether it was just Norman Smiley not turning in correctly, or I think it might have been Saturn just missing Smiley's head by a little bit. Didn't look right. But it looked all right. We got to see the Cabbage Patch for the first time, which I'm looking forward to more of that for Norman Smiley as his character starts to mature a little bit. The only thing I was really curious about, and maybe Canyon's Alex Wright's kind of in the same place at this point, and it's what are they doing with Saturn? It feels like he is an upper mid Carter. I think in most of his matches we would assume that he is the favorite. And yet there really is no real contendership for a title for him, nor is he really discussed in number 1 contenders matches or anything of the sorts. So I would have loved to see something like Jericho taking on Saturn. I think that'd be a wonderful TV title match. And I understand at this point the U.S. title is a trophy. It's not. It's like a belt that doesn't get defended unless it furthers a storyline at this point.
Yeah, it's almost, to your point, it's almost like he's bigger than the television title, but not quite at the level for the U.S.
Bret Hart's
title.
not going to wrestle Saturn. This is not going to happen.
But I do think Saturn deserves to be in the United States title area at this point. And I just don't think...
But Bret Hart is too big. Bret Hart will defend his title at pay-per-views against big stars.
Right.
And because they want to get the money draw from it. They're not going to draw dick with Saturn fighting Bret Hart. As much as I would like to see it, it wasn't going to draw anything in 1998. So the only way that you're going to see this happen is that Bret Hart's going to have to relinquish the belt or lose to somebody else that's maybe a little bit lower on the totem pole. That way, then Saturn could technically jump back up and kind of contend or challenge for it. Bret Hart holding the title it's a problem because the only thing that will come of it is any grudge match that he wants to have with a bigger star.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Following this, we get a Riggs and Lex Luger match that nobody asked for. Basically, commentary team, this is when they're going to talk about the San Diego Padre fans and how because they knew the World Series was over, all they did was chat with Tony Schiavone about Hogan and Warrior.
Are you trying to say that after the Padres who had this crazy, baseball's a crazy long schedule, they make it to the World Series? And once again, I mean, we kind of talk more in current, situations with Major League Baseball. The Padres making it to the World Series is a big deal. Okay, they don't make it to the World Series very often. And so you're telling me that these guys got swept, and all they can think about was, well, we got swept, which means we can go to Vegas and go see Halloween Havoc. Like, I'm sorry, I would think I would be pretty heartbroken if all that hard work and dedication to get to the World Series and you get outed by the Yankees in 4 games, and your first thought is talking to somebody from WCW about how, well, here's a silver lining, guys.
Here's a silver lining. We get to watch and discuss Hogan Warrior.
And little did they know. You know what? I blame the Padres' bad juju for how bad Halloween Havoc ultimately becomes. They tainted it with their presence.
Your fault, San Diego. As for this match, I can't blame San Diego for it. Lex Luger is going to win with the torture rack. I gave it a star and 3/4. It's another squash match that I just don't care about.
Yeah, I don't care about it either. But I still gave it 2 stars. Luger made Riggs look okay. The offense is about as stagnant as you would expect from a Luger match. Riggs did get some shots in, but this match really had no stakes and was just there to get Luger in the ring and the crowd to pop, which they did. They loved the fact that Luger was in there, and it was good to see Luger. It was good to see Luger not fighting Stevie Ray. I think that Riggs is a better worker overall than Stevie Ray. But one thing I think that you and I have never really given Luger enough respect, and we were there when we were doing our older podcast where we were talking about the older days of the Monday Night Wars, and we kept talking about how Luger just looked like he was getting his shit kicked in by people that should not be kicking the shit out of Luger. Or Luger would need to have outside interference from like Jimmy Hart, or would have to cheat in order to beat somebody like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, or Scotty Riggs. He fought Scotty goddamn Riggs back in '95. And in this match, Luger's doing a lot of the same stuff. Like, Luger, of course, is going to do his normal stuff. And by normal stuff, I mean clotheslines and flying forearms and torture rack. And that's basically all that Luger does. But Riggs got some shots in. Luger sold it. Luger made Riggs look like $1 million. Luger made Riggs look like he could have beaten Luger if wasn't for the fact that it's fucking goddamn Lex Luger. But
didn't Hacksaw Jim Duggan almost beat Lex Luger if it wasn't for Jimmy Hart?
Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to say is that Luger, I hardly have ever seen Luger go into a match and just squash somebody. And the thing is, he deserves that. He's earned that he should be able to go in there against Riggs and just obliterate him because, Lex Luger's a former world champion. Lex is an A-class star in the wrestling business at this point. So what the hell is he doing fighting someone like Riggs? And looking like Riggs is actually getting the upper hand in some points. So I applaud Lex Luger for being the good worker that he honest to God was, and really actually giving all of his matches the respect for his guy. Because that if like Scott Steiner was fighting Riggs, do you really think Scott Steiner was going to let Riggs get anything off? No, but Lex Luger will. So for that, 2 stars.
All right, fair enough. After the match, we get our 4 Horsemen promo, which was just replays of last week's Nitro where they were at the United Center and, Bischoff came up to them and attacked the owner of the United Center, yada, yada, yada. After that, we move into our next match of the night. Prince Iaukea wrestling Juventud Guerrera. Mike today is going to be the one to let us know that Prince Iaukea was a former television champ, but Shivani's going to make sure to mention it as well. And I will say in this match, Hougie had a great rocker dropper move that he did, I think, off the top rope, which looked pretty nice. Hoovie's going to go up for getting ready to do the 450. The crowd's going to turn to the entrance, so you assume something's happened. Yep, sure enough, Disco Inferno's going to come in. He's going to go and basically throw Hougie off the top rope, which Nick Patrick's going to pretend like he didn't see. This is going to lead to Hougie falling, but moonsaulting backwards into a 3 count. So Hoovie's going to win the match despite the interference. Nick Patrick's going to pretend like he didn't see it. I remember a time when Prince Iaukea got a push. That is long in the days past. I gave this match a star and 3/4. I thought it was a 2-star match until that ending. I just disqualify, Prince Iaukea for his interference, or just have fucking Prince Iaukea win this match, and you're still pushing, Disco and Hougie feud here. I just hate those kind of clusterfuck endings. Star and 3/4.
I'm actually this is the second match where I will rate down lower than I did. I'm going to say 2 stars. I actually thought the match was good. I thought that before the shitty ending. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was fine.
Sorry, 2.25. I'm going to say 2.25. I'm not going to go all the way down to 2 because I think this was overall a more interesting match than the Luger Riggs match, which I gave 2 stars.
Oh, absolutely, it was. Yeah.
So I'll give it 2.25. We've seen this before with some of Disco's where Disco tries to interfere and he ends up fucking it up, which I just think that's just his classic character of being like a clown idiot where he goes in and tries to get one up on someone. I remember with La Parka, he tried to mess with his matches a couple months back.
Oh yeah, we've seen this a few times previously. Yeah. Sure.
So at least this is a reoccurring spot where Disco tries to interfere and he ends up like screwing it up, and the person he wanted to get to lose, he accidentally kind of helps him win. But I think a lot of us are forgetting, and maybe we aren't, is that before this was actually a pretty fast paced, exciting. I liked the match. The match was actually overall good spots, fast offense. Prince Iaukea looked good. I think he did like probably one of the best snap suplexes I've ever seen. Once again, it's Hougie. Hougie weighs like 12 pounds, so being able to do a snap suplex to him is probably one of the easiest things to do. But I think both of them had good chemistry, no botches, and the ending was a little bit weird. And yeah, I agree, man. Poor Prince Iaukea can't even win when someone helps him out. Ending, I do agree, was a little bit flat.
Yep, definitely. After the match, of course, there's a brawl between Disco Inferno and Hougie. Kidman's going to join in on it, so the 3 of them are fighting. So maybe we're going to get a 3-way cruiserweight title match here at Havoc. After this, we're going to go back to commentary team. They're going to be discussing Bischoff and the Horsemen and what's been going on. Apparently, Bischoff's car was towed away from the arena on Monday, and this is going to lead to our 5th replay of the night. It's from Nitro. The mayor of Minnesota's there. Kirby Puckett's there. John Randall's there, and it's Ric Flair Day, which I feel like Ric Flair already had a day, but here we are again.
He did. I had it in my notes, too. I remember when it was...
Was it in Minnesota that he had that day?
I want to say it was, because Kurt Hennig...
You're right. It must have been because Hennig talked about it. Hennig wouldn't have cared if Ric Flair had a day in.
Now I don't know if it was a different city, like maybe it was a different city in Indianapolis, or in Minnesota. But the moment I heard that they were declaring Ric Flair Day, I'm like, that happened already. I don't know what episode we talked about it. I know we talked about him getting a day somewhere in the state of Minnesota.
Yep. The mayor's going to be in the ring though. She's pretty fired up about Ric Flair Day. And I thought she did quite well with the promo she was cutting here. She might have been reading a script off the plaque she had, but I thought she did well. This is going to lead to Bischoff, who's going to come out here and says, she might be the mayor, but this is his ring, so get out of it. She basically says she doesn't care if it's your ring. And then, of course, Kirby Puckett and John Randall are going to get in the way and act like they're her bodyguards. And cops that are in the ring basically say you put a finger on anyone and you're going to jail.
Totally not a paid actor cop.
And he's going to basically tell Bischoff, you know how these jails here are in Minnesota, because Bischoff, from the area, been up there for a while. And then they say something about how he has unpaid warrants, and he better get out of this arena in the next 20 minutes. And then, of course, this is when they're going to show his car getting towed. So continuing to further push that Bischoff versus the Horsemen story here. After this, we move to another match that nobody asked for. Scott Armstrong going to be wrestling Conan. And as we pan to the Jumbotron for Conan's entrance, instead we get some production screen for the 4 Horsemen. Did you see that? Where they just, instead of saying the name Conan on the screen, it was like, It said Four Horsemen dot, MP3. Like, it was it was definitely a botch spot there. That said, Conan's going to get in the ring, say Conan things. Scott Armstrong's actually in this match going to control a little bit. He's going to, do a little eye raking, a little camel clutch action. He's almost going to get a 3 count for backsliding. For the backslide, had Scott Armstrong backslided Conan for a 3, that would have been our retirement from the Thundercraps podcast, because we would have topped that moment.
No, that would have been a good night, everybody. Yeah. Very quick.
Unfortunately, Conan is going to kick out Face Smasher, Tequila Sunrise, Star and 3/4. Another. Basically, tonight is a trend of squash matches that I just don't fucking care about.
Yep, Star and 3/4. Not much an exciting offense. Frankly, I didn't care about this match. No stakes, no real reason for the match. The only reason why this wasn't a 1.5 was because, fuck, dude, crowd loves themselves some Conan.
Yep, and it's the Wolfpack are hot, Conan's hot, so yep.
I think it also helps that you have like the exact opposite of a pop in Scott Armstrong.
That's true. We will get our 4th sign of the night. It's a South Park sign that says, "Oh my God, they killed the black and white." And it's a picture of Kenny, I think is a Wolfpack member. So there you go. After this, we're going to get a Sting Brett promo, basically kind of reiterating what has happened with Sting and Brett. Brett's going to DDT Sting when Sting had the Scorpion Deathlock on Hogan. He's going to call Sting stupid. And then it's going to end with Brett saying, "You suck," which was bleeped out multiple times. And I just don't get it. You can't say suck on TBS.
But Ric Flair's allowed to say ass and bitch, so
you could talk
who knows,
about,
man?
You could talk about run and train. You could talk about
going to Bangtown,
kidnapping women, Bangtown. But we can't say you suck. I don't know. I just don't get it. Speaking of Ric Flair, we get another Four Horsemen promo after this, talking about the power of 4. And that's going to lead into our next match of the night, Mr. Four Horseman himself, Dean Malenko, versus Kendall Windham, who's going to get on the microphone. And
dude, I had my jaw drop when I saw Kendall Windham holding a mic.
He's going to say that, he knows about the Horsemen, and the Horsemen are the best of the best, and that ain't you, Dean. That's going to lead to a Texas Cloverleaf win, Star 3/4, trash Thunder for these fucking squash matches.
I gave it 2 stars. About as long of a match I would have wanted. Kendall did his offense that I think was good enough and didn't get him exposed. He's a stiffer kind of wrestler, so he's going to do his clotheslines and
when
his.
When you say stiffer kind of wrestler, are you referring to the fact that once in a while he wears less than doesn't leave much to the imagination in the crotchal region?
Dude, I mean, it's confirmed, dude. Like, the Wyndham family, they're packing. All right. I'm not trying to out myself, but have you ever seen Barry Windham's outfit? I mean, dude, it's let's just say it's a capacity crowd in them shorts.
There you have it. Anything else you want to talk about this match? Because there's really not much to talk about.
I mean, I just talked about his penis for a couple seconds, so no, not really. But once again, I think the main reason why I gave this also 2 stars is because I was more interested, honest to God, in this match than with Scott Armstrong and Conan, and I think the only reason why is because at least Dean Malenko and this, Kendall Windham, it's kind of like prove to me that you deserve to be a horseman. And I'm like, oh, hey, look, a semblance of some sort of story.
Some sort of story, yep. Dean is going to not only prove it after making him tap out, he's going to cut a promo and tell Kendall that's why he is a horseman, and says, we defy the authority, and I'm proud to present the rest of my guys. And that brings out the 4 horsemen. We will see our 5th sign of the night. Goldberg fears Babar. So I just thought it was interesting.
Like the elephant Babar?
That's my only guess, right?
Unless there's someone else I'm not aware of. But yeah, I don't. Also, I'm pretty sure Babar was not exactly like a really scary guy. But either way, go on.
Yeah. They are going to cut a promo here, and this is where Arn is going to say, the only thing talking about Bischoff, the only thing that eclipses your viciousness is your cowardice. They said you can throw us out of buildings, put me in jail, whatever, but they said you're going to basically, you open the door to us, you let the horsemen back in, you're going to bow to us, and eventually Flair says you're going to be working for me. So they're pushing Flair and Bischoff and the Horsemen and Bischoff, but it's just not coming at Havoc. So this is a slow build as we're going here.
Well, in the same time, like this is basically what Flair says at the end of every one of his promos is that, oh, Bischoff, you're going to be working for me, which is at this point more than ominous. Like, okay, clearly there's going to be some sort of one-on-one where winner gets WCW. I would assume that's happening soon.
Right. We are going to move into our main event match, the Giant versus Sting, which is actually not a solid main event. I was shocked to see that the Giant came out without Vincent. So maybe Vincent got the night off here, knowing Halloween Havoc's coming up this Sunday.
They want to make sure he's well rested for his probably 5 or 6 matches he needs to be present for.
Right, and Heenan's going to let us know if you missed this pay-per-view on Sunday, you're a loser, and says you people are losers, which I thought was a little harsh. We will see our 6th sign of the night, and it says, NG, will you go out with me? So I hope that proposal was able to work and that they're happily married here now 21 years later. During the match, commentary team is going to discuss what role Chucky, yes, Chucky, the fictional horror movie doll, will play in the Rick vs. Scott Steiner match coming up at Halloween Havoc. I really hope the answer is none. Absolutely no role whatsoever. Should have nothing to do with that match at all because he is a fictional horror movie doll, and we have a match between two brothers who are well-decorated tag team partners who have been in a feud that has been going on since, at least February. If not longer. And finally, at the pinnacle of their match, the epitome, the blow-off that we've been waiting for God knows, almost a fucking year. I hope Chucky, the fucking fictional horror movie doll, has no role to play in this match.
I'm okay with it either way.
As for this match itself, the Giant's going to attack Sting before he can even get into the ring. He's going to catch him during the Stinger Splash. The Giant Sucks chants are loud and proud by this Albuquerque crowd. The commentary team is going to promote Halloween Havoc with a little-known catchphrase by saying this Halloween Havoc will be the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. So good job, Tony, Bobby, and Lee on that one.
Hey, don't give Lee any fucking credit.
Oh, today, yep, you're right. My apologies. Sting's going to give 3 Stinger Splashes to the Giant, and then, oh my God, he body slammed the Giant. I've never seen that except for the last time the Giant was body slammed by Sting. Scorpion Deathlock. That's going to bring Scott Steiner out. Chair shot, disqualification finish. I didn't rate it. I think you rated it, Kyle, if you want to discuss it, worth rating or not.
Well, I did say that I could have easily not rated this. There wasn't much offense. A lot of action in the corners, so they really didn't explore the space of the ring. The only thing I feel bad about is that we later find out that Vincent's definitely in the building, and yet Scott Steiner took his one job, which is the DQ finish. How dare you take that from him?
He did, but fear not. Stevie Ray, Scott Hall, and Vincent will all come in after the match to join in on the attack. It's a full beatdown of Sting. This is going to lead to Rick Steiner coming out to attack Scott Steiner, get him out of the ring. He's going to toss Sting a baseball bat. That's going to clear out the rest of the ring. And then finally, Kevin Nash, Lex Luger, and Conan. Yes, those Wolfpack teammates, the members who have your back, your gang buddies, your posse, the ones who should be protecting you against the black and white. They're finally going to come out after watching Sting get the shit beaten out of him, and Rick Steiner have to make the save. I fucking hated this Thunder, man. I just hated it.
Tell me about it, dude. I mean, lay down on the couch over there, and you tell me about how you feel about this Thunder.
This was a shit Thunder. This is one of the worst Thunders I think we have had. We're building up to the card easily, on paper, I think the best card that they have built in '98. Would you agree with that statement? That if we were looking without knowing how any of the card played out, knowing going into this is the best card that we've had since we started doing Thunder.
Oh, it's easily. I think it also helps the fact that there's 12 goddamn matches. So yeah, there better be some
but great man. You've got Goldberg and DDP. Can the Diamond Cutter defeat the Streak for the world title? You've got Sting and Bret Hart, two at the best of what they do. Similar styles, similar finishers. Great. You got the title on the line. Awesome. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, longtime friends, started the NWO together, came in as the outsiders. Now they're brothers going against each other, and you do have brothers also wrestling. Scott and Rick, a story that's been building for weeks and weeks and months and months. And, on top of that, There's probably other matches that I know there's other matches, but I can't think of the other ones.
Don't forget about Wrath and Ming, okay?
Okay, Wrath and Ming, that one's been building for at least a week now. I mean, you're building up a great card at the top, and there's other matches I'm sure that are going to follow that will be great too. Halloween Havoc is notoriously a great pay-per-view, and this is the fucking thunder you give me. This fucking piece of shit. You know how you promote it? You don't put Goldberg's not here. DDP cuts a promo like he does every fucking week. Sting's not here. Bret Hart's not here. Oh, I forgot Hogan and Warrior. Hogan and Warrior. Oh, Sting's there at the end. Yeah.
It's the main event.
Sting's in the main event. My apologies. I'm just so fired up right now.
I know.
Hogan and Warrior, they're not going to be here, but that doesn't totally shock me. Instead, they promote these matches by discussing them during Kendall Windham and Dean Malenko, during Scott Armstrong and Conan, during Riggs and Luger, Norman Smiley and Saturn, fucking Johnny Swinger and Alex Wright. This is the fucking shit we have that's how we go home. We go home promoting this show 3 days away from Halloween Havoc, and all it's going to be is, let's discuss Rick and Scott while we watch Super Calo and fucking Rey Mysterio wrestle. I'm very disappointed. Historians are going to write, when they write these stories about the fall of WCW and the end of the era and, when the NWO started to fall, and some will say it was when Goldberg's streak was beaten by Nash with the taser. They might point to the finger poke of doom that followed it. They could point to Halloween Havoc and the Hogan Warrior debacle, or the fact that the pay-per-view feeds cut off before DDP and Goldberg was even seen, so they have to show it a week, the next night for free. They could point to all this. There's plenty of other shit, bringing in Vince Russo. You could point a million different things. I think they're all going to be wrong. Thunder 37, October 22nd, 1998. That is the day WCW died.
That said, I like this Thunder. So here's the thing. I think you and I had different expectations for this. I think that Thunder has already broken my spirit a little bit as far as being like another flagship show, and I think you wanted this to be like as if Nitro was going to give like a go home show where you make sure that everybody's there and the right matches are being told. Here's my ultimately my thought on this. Most of the matches here were decent enough. But the thing I liked about this show was the way the commentary talked about the storylines and then transitioned to recaps to further the story. It was a nice change of pace and something that I want to see more on Thunder. If Thunder is going to ultimately be, let's just be honest here, all right? Like, we can talk about how much we loved Thunder growing up, but I think we understand now, and especially because it's not always live. So this is the first week of Albuquerque. We're going to have second week of Albuquerque next week, I assume. And so it's such a weird transition to have that when you know that next week's episode is still in Albuquerque with the same crowd. So obviously there's still going to be I think there is going to be a lot of disconnect that you can't show some of what's going to be happening at Halloween Havoc up front yet, because of the fact that next week the storylines have all reset. So next week, I guarantee, I would assume that next week's show is going to be very meat and potatoes, very dry, not a lot of story, and I that's why I think I kind of like this show, because of the fact that this is the last chance that they're going to have to be able to not only talk about what could be going on in the ring in matches and furthering the storyline, but they also get the advantage of Nitro. Next week, it's all going to be just about Nitro and maybe some stills if they do it for Halloween Havoc. So this is one match or one show where that I feel there's just enough of everything to get you excited about Halloween Havoc. I do understand that there is the big omissions, all right? Goldberg, Hogan, and Warrior. And I guess Bret Hart, if you want to throw him in there as well. I honestly, it's not as big a deal. Although I will say, because of the fact that Sting was here and was getting jumped by the NWO, I would have liked to see Bret Hart. Don't get me wrong, would have liked to see it. I didn't need the entire NWO. I would have loved to just see Bret Hart just come in there and attack. Make it more personal. Don't make it be about NWO. Make it be about Bret Hart. But almost everyone else who has a match in the card was here in some aspect, and the ending of the show was nice to see. Everybody comes out. Remember, you and I talked about a nice way to end a show, if there's especially a go-home show, is everybody kind of spills into the ring. You get to see everybody right at the end, and that's what we kind of got. We saw all the NWO pretty much. We saw all the Wolfpack. We got to see Rick Steiner. So we did get a lot of people that are involved in these storylines coming out towards the end. I understand it's not Goldberg and DDP, going at it, but they got to kind of do that on Nitro. No sense in doubling up on it and doing it on Thunder, as much as you and I would like to see that. And I think you and I were not shocked that Hogan and Warrior weren't going to make it to Albuquerque. So I think we got as much as Thunder was going to give us. And you might think that that's not enough. And I understand that you didn't like every single match, but I do think that those matches were borderline necessary, because I think it was the time for the commentary to talk and to say, look, there is wrestling in the background. Clearly, I mean, Conan's there because it's a pop-worthy match because it's Conan. Then you got Luger, pop-worthy. We understand that. We know who's going to win. So it's kind of like background music, but really what we're supposed to be doing is concentrating and listening to what the commentary has to say as they are setting up for the transition into a video package about going forward in the storylines. So that I thought they did as good, if not better, than any other Thunder that we've seen. And because of that, as a total a TV show presentation, I get it. I don't want to see Kendall Windham's dick either, but in the end, I think everything packaged together was, I think, very much better than adequate.
I guess we'll have to agree to disagree this week. But what we are curious about is what you guys thought. So reach out to us. Let us know. Of course, we're on Twitter at Thundercraps. Let us know, was this the day WCW died, or was it a solid week and what you want to see more of on Thunder? Of course, you could always like, subscribe, and review the show on any of your listening devices. And you could always go to thundercraps.com for all of our previous episodes. That said, go check out that 3.5-hour card, 12 matches, Halloween Havoc 1998. And then watch Thunder 38, October 28th, 1998. It could be a weird pre-taped episode from Albuquerque that takes place after the pay-per-view. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to be the case or not. For Kyle Hoagland, I am a defeated Josh Kiser, and we will see you next time on the Thundercrafts podcast.
We are positively out of time, and yes, that is actually a real word. See ya.